Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme: Celtic reject bid from Chelsea for Craig Gordon, Ismail Goncalves is on his way to Hearts, and Ralph Topping resigns as the SPFL chairman. So, Ruffy, main talking point first of all, interestingly, Chelsea looking for Craig Gordon as possibly a backup keeper. And Celtic have rejected a bid from this morning.
Yeah, it just shows you where Craig's come from. You know, after that horrendous injury and been out of the game for so long, all credit to him. He's fought his way back to the top, not only at club level but at European level as well. He's absolutely tremendous, and that is the reward. You know, obviously Chelsea have looked at him and saw his Champions League form, because that's where they've been needing him most. Possibly, I couldn't see Craig doing it. You know, I think he's well established at Celtic now. I think to go down there and play second fiddle, you would think he would lose his Scotland place as well. Being sick, no. So it's something he's got to think about, and I'm sure he was having a great time at Celtic just now. So I think he's been down in England before, he's tried it, so it's not something he would maybe want to try again, but they've knocked it back, and quite rightly so.
Listen, they might come back in again. You couldn't rule it out financially, but at the tail, I'm even loath to say at the tail end of his career, because keepers can play till they're 40, and Craig looks a fit lad. I can't see it happening though, Mark.
No, I think Craig Gordon does want to try the English Premier League again, but I think he would only go there as a number one. If you were saying to me, like, Bournemouth want to sign him as their number one, I can see Craig being keen. But to go as a number two just now, no. He'll still feel he's got at least 4 years as a number one. He's on a good thing at Celtic just now. So to go down to Chelsea or anywhere else and be a number two, he's not at that stage yet. If he was 38 or something, Peter, the way that Mark Swatzer and Shea Given have been the past couple of years, and you accept that that's your role, and you get well paid for it. But at the moment, I think it would take a lot of money to shift him for Celtic to accept a bid, and B, I don't think he'll go anywhere as a number two.
Yep. Staying with Celtic, of course, last night they equalled the record of 50 years ago when Jock Stein's Celtic were on an unbeaten run of 26 games at the start of the season. They managed to get past St Johnstone just, Ruffy, by a goal from Dedrick Boyata.
Yeah, I think the teams that are during the break there who go away, I think it takes them a wee while to get back into their stride again. I think even against Albion Rovers at the weekend, they looked a wee bit lacklustre, you know, and possibly the same again. So I think the more games they get, they'll get back into the 3 and the 4 goals. But certainly it's record, and that's what I'm sure the fans would appreciate it more than the players.
Yep, the manager was full of praise for his players. Of course, they got the chance to break the record against Hearts on Sunday, I beg your pardon, Mark.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, Celtic will want 3 points to edge them closer to the title, and if it'd be a nice way for them to break the record. But you just take a step back from it, Peter. It kind of rolls off the tongue. 26 games, but you take a step back from it. It's a hell of an achievement for the team to go through that and win as many games. The only points dropped in the league away to Inverness, so you've got to give maximum credit to Brendan Rodgers and his players, because it can't be an easy thing to do, because it was that these records would be broken time and time again.
Yep, absolutely. OK, from Celtic, there was another match, a crucial match last night. It was Hearts taking on Raith Rovers. In the end, Ruffy, Hearts managed to get past Raith Rovers by 4 goals to 2 and set up that mouth-watering Scottish Cup tie against Hibs. Yeah,
I was hearing there was a bit of apprehension after 90 minutes. You know, the tension was there. You know, we said yesterday that we thought the Hearts couldn't afford to lose that one. He's fortunate that he got the penalties and they won the game. And again, as we speak about all teams, you know, that might be the kick-start, but they've obviously got a massive game coming up at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it was tough stuff. He continually has mentioned the fact that, they're building a side. He's firing in some amount of players, Mark, clearly. Anne Budge and Craig Levein are backing him with the players that he wants in. Ismail Goncalves, the former St Mirren player, expected to join Ian Cathro's side tomorrow after a fee has been agreed with Anarthosis.
Yeah, well, I think, Ian Cathro and Osman McPhee have worked with Goncalves in the past, so know what they're getting. But you're right, Peter, the overhaul in the squad already, and we've still got 5 days to go before the window closes, the ends, and in the outs. But what's important is that they find a rhythm, they find momentum, and they start winning games. Great result for them last night, you know, because obviously in front of their own supporters they must have been feeling the heat, especially going a goal down. But then they now face a tough game on Sunday. But I think for Ian Cathro it's important just to start winning games and getting the Tynecastle support fully on side with what he's trying to do.
Yeah, and with that cup game coming up, he's obviously just trying to rally the troops by saying it's, you know, it could be a great occasion for knocking the cup holders out. If Hearts were to go 2-0 up in that game, Ruffy, at Tynecastle, I won't be writing Hibs off. that's an absolute certainty after the last experience.
Yeah, I have to say that you got a bit of a backlash for that one, but it was a hasty thing
Putting
to
his
do.
foot in that again, was it?
Yeah, so we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have to get into the witness protection scheme in Edinburgh. They were absolutely caning me for it. But then again, you can't lose from a two-goal lead. I mean, it was outrageous. But nevertheless, just on that basis, who would you class as favourites in that? Should it be Hearts easily at home?
No, Peter, I think you could toss a coin. Great point, mate. It'd be interesting to see how, you know, which way the bookies go. I think very hard to split them. I think they'll be both odds against to win the tie 90 minutes. And if you'd offer me a free bet now, I would go with a replay at Easter Road.
Yep, okay, interesting stuff. You can give us your thoughts on that at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Peter and Ruffy on Facebook as well, and we'll read them out over the course of the next couple of days as well. You know, obviously keeping your eye close on the transfer window. Your favourite team, are they making signings? I think some clubs and some fans actually start biting their nails in case they lose some of their key players. Kilmarnock have lost Suleiman Koulibaly, and they're obviously going to try and sign even more players than they've signed already. Lee Clark reflected on the loss of his star striker and the possibility of getting other players in.
Been many clubs before us, and there will be after us that have lost important players. So, you know, football the world round, there's young players, there's players who are untouched, who are a bit raw, a bit rough diamonds out there, and you've got to see if you can find them and produce another one. Time is of the essence as well, with the window shutting, and but I have ideas and thoughts on any eventuality in which market we're dealing with, and I will put them to the board.
It's a great place to be, Rugby Park. You get a chance to get introduced to a new face near enough every day, Ruffy. I mean, how many players has he signed? I mean, it's incredible. And I know he was a little bit prickly about Billy Brown's suggestion that, you know, with all these changes, sooner or later Kilmarnock are going to go down.
Well, I think obviously the £1 million would be fantastic for the club. There's no doubt about that, but it'll matter nothing if they get relegated. We all know what's going on behind the scenes there. The fans, I dread to think what the fans would do if they got relegated. So he really has to, you know, get the right kind of player in there. You know, so fair dues getting the £1 million, but you've got to use it wisely. And it doesn't look as if he's going to get any of it. He's going to still be wheeling and dealing with loan players coming in. So, but it's he hasn't got a track record of selling 2 or 3 players on for X amount of pounds. But for me, Kilmarnock's all about staying in this division, and that's what they've got to do. Yeah,
I think now this is the biggest gamble, Mark, because it's all right getting good money for Koulibaly, and you can't knock Kilmarnock for that, but trying to unearth someone else who might get to double figures, you know, for the goal scoring in the second half of the season, I think could be a big problem. Yeah,
it will be, Peter, there's no doubt about that. I was at Rugby Park on Saturday, the Scottish Cup tie against Hamilton. Didn't create an awful lot in the games, and he had Koulibaly and he had Chris Boyd, he had those guys on the bench. So yes, you're right, credit for getting a guy for nothing and punting him on, you know, for in excess of 800 grand. Can you keep doing that? No, you can't. He won't get a penny of it. You know, he'll get a wee wage here and there. It'll be the loan market again. But certainly at full time on Saturday, the Kilmarnock punters not happy at all with what's going on at the club.
Yeah. Just one little story before we hit the break, Ruffy. Ralph Topping has stepped down. He's resigned as the SPFL chairman. He's served his time. Would you view him as a success?
It's a difficult one to say, you know. I mean, obviously I'm not in the inner sanctum of what he has been fronting. I know he's been on boards and making decisions, but if you ask the supporters, they're not too happy about what's been happening in the game for a wee while, so maybe he's just decided that enough's enough.
Yep, okay. He will go on to other business ventures, and the SPFL hope to appoint a new chairman shortly. Coming up after the break, we'll hear from Ryan Christie on that loan move to Aberdeen, and we'll also talk about Motherwell and Rangers in the next part of the programme. Join us if you can. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. Two absolutely fantastic characters on the programme. Great friends, do a lot of work for charity. Alan Ruffin, our boot room guest, Mark Guidi. Look at the two of you. They're just two old goalkeepers moaning in the break. That's what I love about it.
One of us has just been on holiday.
Absolutely.
For the third time this year.
Answers on a postcard. You don't want to stretch his, doesn't want to stretch his workload, to be honest with you. Okay, Mark Guidi and Alan Ruff here talking about some of the stories emerging today. Of course, we've been talking about Celtic rejecting the bid for Craig Gordon. Goncalves coming to Hearts should be done and dusted tomorrow, since the clubs have agreed a fee. Also, other clubs will be looking to signings. Mark McGee mentioned that he's hoping to get, two in, possibly today, another two tomorrow.
Yeah, four signings ahead of the weekend. Obviously, a big game against Rangers. Again, 4 might be stretching it a little bit, depends how far down the road he is. But it's obviously clear that, sending a message to the board as well, that they need reinforcements, and once again, one or two Australian teams hovering over Scott McDonald, trying to entice him back to his homeland. So you wonder if there might be something else to come on that between now and Tuesday. Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that when they rejected the bid from Australia, and Scott McDonald wasn't really throwing the dummy out of the pram, I think that tells you that he's quite happy where he is, and I think Mark McGee would be keen to hold on to him alongside Louis Moult. They've got Kieran Cadogan there as a trialist from Crystal Palace, as a winger. I don't know about you, Ruffy. I don't see Motherwell being involved in the relegation fight,
I don't know if you can say that, Peter. I think over the next 2 or 3 weeks it's going to be crucial. Again, it's winning games. If you don't win any games, even 2 out of 3, you're going to be still in there. But it's interesting that Mark's going to go for another winger. He's done very well with some of the wingers he's brought up on loan. They've been really good signings, and they'll be hoping that this boy can do it again, because a lot of Motherwell's play is a winger getting to the byline and putting quality balls into the box for the two guys that he's got, McDonald and Moult. So that's what we'll be hoping for. But certainly with these two in your books, you would like to think that they would be the ones that would drag you out of the relegation zone. Yeah,
if he gets 2 players, he'll be doing well. If he gets 3 or 4, I think, he'd be absolutely delighted before the window closes. I'm going to stick my neck out to say I don't think Motherwell will be involved in the relegation.
I agree with you. I think it will come down to 3 clubs. Hamilton, Kilmarnock and Inverness, so 1 out of the 3 will go automatically, and another one, the 2 remaining, will be in the playoff. But I think like Dundee and Motherwell and clubs like that will just pull away ever so slightly. Okay, it's Aberdeen against Dundee tomorrow night. Of course, Dundee reeling after the cup exit to St Mirren and Aberdeen. Derek McInnes has got his own transfer targets. He's managed to recruit 1 on loan from Celtic. Ryan Christie arrived. Clearly, the first thing he had to do, I think, was apologise to the Aberdeen supporters for an insane tweet from 3 or 4 years ago when he was a young lad at Inverness. But other than that, I think if he scores his first goal, the Dons fans will love him. Here's Derek McInnes on the new signing.
Delighted, I think it's difficult, as we spoke about, to get good quality players in a January window especially, and I think that to have Ryan in the building now and being ready to help us with the challenge ahead, I think it's a fantastic signing for us. He's a talented boy. Someone who I think's got really grown over the last couple of years. He's handled going to Celtic. He's not had the amount of game time as maybe as the hope, but there's no shame in that, the way they're going at the minute. So, hopefully, as I say, he can help us and the boys in the dressing room to achieve what we want to achieve this season. And we're delighted. I think it's fantastic we've got managed to get a player Ryan's quality in the building.
You know, for me, there was a massive appeal. Obviously, as soon as I found out there was interest, I was really kind of looking forward to hopefully getting over the line. Yesterday it was all a bit kind of hectic. I didn't know what was happening. Obviously, drove up last night and here today, so trained this morning straight away, which kind of helped me settle in. Me and the manager have spoken about what targets he has in the league and obviously the cup as well. So for me, as a squad, it's for me it's helping out as much as I can to help them make them targets. Personally, hopefully I get the game time that I'm after, and I make an impression.
Idea, Mark, for him might be a good idea for him to stay off Twitter for the next 6 months and go to a few supporters dinners.
Well, I see he's one of his first comments was I've joined the second biggest team in the country, so clearly try to curry flavour right away. He may well genuinely believe that. Anyway, but I think he's a boy with a lot of potential. The good reports that I've heard about him since he was a kid at Inverness, and then when he was working with the coaching staff at Celtic, John Collins and then Brendan Rodgers, was that he's a good young pro. He wants to listen, he wants to learn, he wants to improve. He's not a prima donna, so Derek McInnes is getting a hungry boy there that will make a right good contribution.
Yeah, is there a way back for him? At
Celtic? Yes, difficult in that area, middle to front, because of the competition and the need for a club like Celtic to spend big in that area on sexy names, but I wouldn't rule him out. He's a quality young player. Yeah,
I wonder what's going through his mind though, Ruffy, when earlier today Kouassi Eboue is unveiled by Celtic, and then suddenly you're thinking, he's £2.8 million of a signing.
Yeah, that's the dilemma that the young players have got now. They've got to believe that they have the ability, maybe not just now, maybe in a year's time or 2 years' time. I definitely think, as I've said on record, I think he's a player for Scotland for the future. I think any time you get the chance to see him, and he only got 2 or 3 games with Celtic, but any time he was on the park, he didn't look phased. He looked sharp, he looked as if he was just a couple of yards ahead of other people. So I think Aberdeen have got a player there, and I think we'll begin, the more games he gets, we'll begin to see how really good he is.
Yeah, give me your thoughts, Mark, on Dundee, because I thought there would be a top 6 side. I thought Paul Hartley and Jerry McKay would be able to take them on to another level. They've been derailed with more than a few players that any team would suffer the loss of 2 good strikers. That would prove to be a real pain for them. But they just haven't really got a rhythm going.
They've struggled, Peter, but you hit the nail on the head as to why they've not maybe. And they may well still finish in the top 6. Obviously, losing the cup tie to St Mirren there was an unexpected blow. But you take Kane Hemmings and Greg Stewart out of your team, you're clearly going to suffer. Yeah. You can't expect supporters and the board. Can't expect anything else. You take Barry Mackay and Kenny Miller out of the Rangers team, take Dembele and Sinclair out of the Celtic team, take Hayes and Rooney out of the Aberdeen team. They're going to suffer. Malcolm McDonald from Motherwell. That's what happened to Dundee, and you're not getting the opportunity to replace like with like. Yes, the club banked around about £1 million, which is great considering they get 2 of them for nothing, but that doesn't do the manager any favours when it comes to replacing them. So I think they are pretty much where they should be.
Yeah, and the manager Paul Hartley, first to admit it's difficult trying to get players to come to Dundee.
We're trying, but it's difficult, to be quite honest with you. It's really difficult to get the right type of player. Financially it's difficult in terms of the money that we can pay and what teams are looking for, so we'll try our best right until the window. Will we get somebody? I don't know. Are we trying? Yes.
Well, I think you can tell by his demeanour there that he's up against it, trying to get the right type of player in.
Yeah, I think he's still obviously smarting for the defeat last week. It was very noticeable. The fans were very critical right after that game, and we know how much Paul really believes, that he's doing the right thing behind the scenes. So they really need to get back into winning times. I think it's going to be difficult for them tomorrow night.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to win?
Aberdeen for me. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark.
I think Aberdeen will edge it, yeah.
Yeah. OK, Mark Warburton's come out and said every player has his price. I'm not sure, I don't know where the £6 million came from for Barry Mackay. I think, some journalists must have been given that and just written it down. But I think, Barry Mackay would do well to stay with Rangers.
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, Mark Warburton would get Barry Mackay tied down a long-term deal, and he knows that he's there to help the club move forward because he's an asset He's a player that creates things for the team. However, what Rangers have to do now, because the season ticket money's gone, Peter, you need to generate your own money. So to do that, unless you've got an investor, you need to sell. Barry Mackay is probably the biggest asset. I agree with you, 6 million. You wouldn't need to pay 6 million for Barry Mackay.
Yeah.
So if clubs do their homework, they get him for less than that. So maybe that's what Matt Warburton needs to do, to go and then look at the bigger picture and try and bring 3 or 4 fresh faces in. But in an ideal world, certainly want to keep Barry Mackay because he's a match winner for them.
Yeah, I think if he got an offer for 6 million, Mark Warburton would drive him there in the first place. Just one little thing, we'll need to go to Poland, Ruffy, because Ziggy Gordon has signed for a Polish side today.
Yeah, and I don't know what's happened at Partick Thistle. He started off very well, but yeah, good luck to him. A nice lad.
Yeah, loved the strip so much he decided to wear the exact same one in Poland. So we wish Ziggy the very best of luck. Stripes suits him. Anyway, thanks to Ruffy, thanks to his sidekick, Mark Guidi. Hopefully he'll join us tomorrow. Hugh McDonald will be joining us on the programme. Good night.